Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Tuesday, May 9th, 2017, in mainstream news, it was reported that there was a nuclear scare at the Hanford Site in Washington State, which was the first nuclear research base built in 1943 for the Manhattan Project. What I'm going to show you is how the news from May 9th was purposefully created. This is a purposeful scare to inject more fear into the people of the world, especially the people of the Pacific Northwest where I live. Recall, March 11th, 2011, there was the Fukushima disaster in Japan. The news reported that people on the west coast of the United States would be affected by that radiation poisoning let off by Fukushima. Here in Washington State, we were advised by our state government and local media continuously to go out and buy potassium iodide and take those to protect ourselves from the radiation. I never did that because I believe most of the information we're given in this world is purposeful fear. So check this out. This news came Tuesday, May 9th, a date that's written 9/5 in most parts of the world. The word emergency equals 95, like May 9th, 9/5. And May 9th also happens to be the 129th day of the year, leaving 236 days remaining. In gematria, if you write nuclear disaster, it sums to 236. This was fear of an emergency, a potential nuclear disaster. Also, the 129th day of the year, that's a number that represents America, nuclear energy born in the United States of America. And speaking of America and nuclear, check this out. The Hanford Site opened in 43, which means it turns 74 in 2017, the year we're now in. Notice, the word nuclear has gematria 43, the first nuclear site in 43. In case you're new here, what I've been exposing is that since the beginning of this country up to the present, news, agenda, history has been made by the numbers as the rule, not the exception. This is Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, very important to Freemasonry, and it is Freemasonry that controls this nation. The number of Freemasonry, for the most part, is 42, and Washington's the 42nd state. We'll elaborate on that. When you write out 42 as a word, it also sums to 43. So anyway, from 1943 to 2017 is 74 years. 1943 to 2017, 74 years. In the language of gematria, using the alphabetic order, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, up to Z is 26, nuclear 74, energy 74, weapon is 74. We're going to get to the World Trade Centers, the collapse of the World Trade Centers, and how that site's called Ground Zero. That collapse happened on the 74th meridian. We're going to talk about why that's so interesting now. So, this site that had the scare, it's called the Hanford Site. Hanford Site in gematria sums to 119, like all-seeing eye, like master plan. The all-seeing eye, the symbolism, it's about controlling the mind's eye of the masses, which is most easily controlled with fear and bribery, things that are dominant in this world. Nuclear scares is fear. Fukushima is fear. This region of the world where I live is being tormented with nuclear fear, and look, it's the birthplace of nuclear energy, so we're told. So, 119, special number. Look at the definition of ground zero. The point on Earth's surface directly above or below an exploding nuclear or atomic bomb. If this definition was fully true, it would also say atomic. Ground zero in the Kabbalah cipher sums to 119, and think about September 11th. That date is written 11/9 in most parts of the world. 11/9. I want to give you a quick lesson on 911 real quick. Very special number, 911. Okay, so notice, 911 is the 156th prime number. 911, the 156th. Why does that matter? If you write out 33, it sums to 156. If you write out false flag, it sums to 33. A false flag is when a government stages, a tragedy for the sake of an agenda. And really, the agenda in this nation from our government is to constantly keep us in fear and looking to Big Brother to keep us safe. Hanford has this gematria of 33. I also want to show you something about Jewish gematria. If you write out false flag, it also sums to 156. Just like how false flag's 33, and when you write out 33, it sums to 156. So think about it. September 11th, ground zero. Here's the 33 piece that takes it further. In 1968, 33 years before 2001 and September 11th, 911 was made the national emergency dialing code, World Trade Center construction began, and George W. Bush graduated from Yale Skull and Bones, all 33 years before 2001. Bush's birthday is July 6th, which is also a span of 68 days from September 11th, and his father was the head of the CIA, which has gematria of 68. So, if this is all being orchestrated, who's doing it? Well, the answer is clear if you know enough information. This gematria language is a Jewish practice and also a Masonic practice because Freemasonry is based in Jewish history. The Jewish people have a holy day called Tisha B'Av. It's to remember the destruction of the two temples, Solomon's temple and the temple that was built after Solomon's temple was destroyed. Tisha B'Av, to remember the destruction of the two temples, equals 911. Tisha B'Av in the septenary cipher also sums to 33, our false flag number, 33 years, later from 68 to 2001. This is all ritual. And Solomon's temple, which also equals 68, that was the first of the two temples to be destroyed that's remembered in Tisha B'Av. Solomon's temple, 68, like the year all these things happen. After the destruction of Solomon's temple, it was said its massive two pillars, Boaz and Jachin, were taken back to Babylon, which is where Afghanistan and Iraq are. Think about it. We sent the World Trade Center debris back over to Asia, Not far from where Babylon was. So, if you're following these pieces so far, let's tie the rest together. Washington State is the 42nd state. Hanford also has gematria of 42, just like NYC, New York City, where the World Trade Centers were. What happened in New York was said to be a declaration of war, and we've been at war ever since. War equals 42, just like World War equals 42, just like Freemason equals 42, and again, it is Freemasonry running the show in the United States of America. George Washington, a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason, the 42nd state named in his honor, Hanford having the gematria of 33. Let's not forget in the history of the nuclear program, there's a whole lot of 33. Hiroshima bombing was a date with 33 numerology. The original test date in New Mexico on the 33rd parallel, a date with 33 numerology. There's so much 33 to the history of the nuclear program. But right now for 42, War 42, World War 42, Freemason 42, the big G, the Freemason compass, that big G representing 42. Think about the nation most tormented by nuclear warfare experimentation. It's Japan. From Hiroshima to other tests to Fukushima. Japan, 42, who got the U.S. involved in war, World War. But it's all a new world order is what people need to know. The leaders of these countries are participating in theater, selling out their people. With regards to Japan, the Fukushima incident happened on March 11, 311. I noticed that Hanford in Satanic Gematria is 311, just like the Beast, just like how USA breaks down to 311. When you write out 42 as a word, it also sums to 74. Again, this happened in Washington State, the 42nd state, 74 years after the Hanford Site began. 42 and 74 like peas in a pod. And it's bigger than just this. Look at this. If you write out New Testament, it sums to 42. The original printed Bibles were 42-line Bibles. There's 42 generations that lead up to Jesus and Matthew, the first of the gospel. Gospel, 74. Just like Jesus. Just like cross. Just like Oregon, the 33rd state, the only that does 74. Washington came out of Oregon territory when Oregon was made into smaller states. The 33rd state also became the 42nd state. Super important numbers to Masonry. So this is how it all fits together. And also, as I'm always explaining, think about how often they love to pair 33 and 74 in their rituals. The Hanford Site, having the gematria of 33, being 74 years old. This disaster on the most perfect date of the calendar year for it. You couldn't script a better date than May 9th, the day that leaves 236 days left in the year for a nuclear disaster emergency. For everyone who watches this video and is aware of the channel Dahboo77, can somebody remind him to stop with all the false fear? That's all that guy does, is push fear on all of these contrived events that are meant to scare people. Dahboo7 always tries to pretend like he's on the side of truth, but just pushing more fear. And never shares this knowledge I put out, which shows how it's all part of a scripted show. So I'll say this. If nuclear energy is real, if this disaster is real, if this is a real threat to the people of this world, the region of the world that I live in, here's one last thing to think about. Kill equals 59. May 9th in the U.S. is right at 5/9. 5/9. See that gematria of 44? Look at military. Look at soldier. Look at trooper. You know? Military is used to make genocide. None of these numbers are arbitrary. Right now in the White House, we have a man named Mad Dog who's a 44-year veteran of the Marines. You know? Mad Dog Mattis. NATO was established in history on April 4th. Go back and look at how we got into World War I and World War II. Whole lot of 42 and 44. It's always been news by the numbers. And these same recurring numbers. So I think we covered it all. You know what? One last thing. I meant to write up here the Freemason compass, purple in color, purple rain, purple also 74. It's all a Masonic agenda. Divide and conquer through fear and intimidation. All right, Truth Seeker, until next time.